Hi, I'm Christopher John Farley, a senior editor at the Wall Street Journal and the editor of the journal's Speakeasy blog. We're here at the WSJ Cafe with singer-songwriter Regina Spektor. Regina, thanks a lot for coming to the WSJ Cafe. I really appreciate it. So you were born in Russia, and you recently went back for the first time in a long time. What was that like emotionally?
It was, it was just amazing. I sort of still feel like it's a dream now that I'm back home in New York. I just can't believe that it happened. I spent the whole time a combination of crying and laughing at the same time, and cold borscht eating. So
that can be dangerous. You're crying, laughing, cold borscht eating.
No, it's
Not
like a haphazard situation.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, and I was always afraid to kind of go back, mainly once I had the chance, because for a long time it was closed at first, and then for a long time I never had the money to go back, and finally, by the time I got signed and sort of had the chance, it had been so long that I sort of had this thing with, oh my God, if I go back, it's a whole other country now, and it's gonna look different, and I'm gonna forget everything I remembered as a little kid, and I really didn't want to ruin my childhood memories. It's actually been amazing because my entire experience of it has just been, it's triggered so many memories. So now, I don't know, it's like I see things even clearer than I had, so it's really cool. Like, as I'm getting some distance from it, I just kind of can't believe it happened, and it felt amazing to be in a place where everybody spoke sort of my family's language. It's really beautiful.
Now, you were born in Moscow. You left there in 1989 when you were a young girl. Can you tell me what the circumstances were of why your family decided to leave?
Well, the main reason there are these big waves of Jews exiting Soviet Russia. The first one was kind of around in the 70s. Most of those people left in 79, and then kind of it closed up again and nobody could leave, and then it reopened around 89, and that's sort of the next wave of immigration. All those people were leaving because of kind of, I guess, Soviet institutionalized basically anti-Semitism, because it's really amazing. I mean, it had, in a way, I guess it kind of kept Jews as Jews, because there's really nothing else to keep Jews from assimilating. They are such a tiny minority, and it was the kind of institutionalized anti-Semitism that kept them aware of their Jewishness, which I guess was a kind of gift, maybe, in a weird way. But really, it was very intense, because in your passport, it said Jew.
It said this in 1989. It actually said that.
Yeah, and on your birth certificate, it said Jew. And actually, I remember finding my birth certificate just because I was looking for something for, I think, student loans when I was applying to college, and I found my Russian birth certificate. It was really amazing. It said my mom's name, and then under it said Jew, and then it said my dad's name, under it said Jew, and then my name, and it said Jew. I guess it wasn't the identification of you that was the problem. It was that you were also treated accordingly. So there were a lot of, like, universities had quotas, so let's say they would take only 5 Jews for that program every year, or a certain amount. So people kind of had to be the best of their class. A lot of the times, people couldn't do the jobs that they wanted, or they couldn't choose a profession that they wanted. It was a glass ceiling society. So I think that's really the main reason why most people left, was thinking about their children. And they didn't want me applying to colleges thinking, oh, well, I have to be the best, better than everybody, so that I get into, music. And luckily I didn't have to be better than anybody, But I was definitely aware of it when I was applying to colleges, that, oh, if I don't get in, it's because, I sucked at my SATs, but not because I'm a Jew, And that's really a privilege.
And how did that background really affect you when you got here into the United States? Did you feel like you were able to assimilate quickly and make a group of friends, or was it always did you always have that feeling that I'm an outsider, I had this stamp on my passport when I was a kid, I'm not like the other kids who are here?
Well, sometimes it's really hard to analyze yourself and kind of compartmentalize and figure out what's what, because, like, I think there are plenty of kids that are born here in America and still find that in school they somehow feel different in their class, or sometimes it's like, I don't know if it was because I was Russian or weird, but, or maybe a little bit of both. But I think as an immigrant, I really connect to this, to just immigrants in general. You have your roots and you want to stay true to them and you want to be connected to your culture, and I really loved reading in Russian and Russian food and just, the language, the music. And then in another way, you want to kind of feel part of things. But I got to experience a lot of really great welcoming sides of people. Like when we got to the Bronx, it was a really diverse community, and there were so many different cultures, religions, races, different kinds of music blasting from houses and cars, and and I really loved it. And so I really always felt a part of things. I guess at the same time, if you're just kind of making art, which I guess I always wanted to, you're always kind of on the outside anyway, staring and observing and thinking. So
now your music is always drawn from a lot of different genres and traditions. For your latest album, What We Saw from the Cheap Seats, did you go into it with a specific approach you wanted to have, and the specific songs you wanted to sort of put together in a direction you were going in, or did it just sort of come together in an organic kind of way?
Yeah, number two.
Number two, okay.
Yeah, I'm a pretty disorganized person. I used to be really down on that because I always look, I think you're always looking up to what you're not, I have friends that are really organized that think it's cool how chaotic and spontaneous. Everybody's just like wanting the thing they're not, I guess. But, I always had these like fantasies of like, besides just like cleaning my closet and, doing all that, to like, come in with like a totally organized list of songs and plan something, way in advance, and have all the images fit all this music and everything. And that never happens with me. I live life and I write songs, and then they accumulate.
Now, one thing I wondered, tell me the story of your first piano. Do you remember the first piano you played, the first piano that was yours?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first piano that was mine was my mom's. And it was given to her by her dad when she entered the conservatory when she was 16. And my mom in Russia was a professor of music theory and musicology and history and all that cool stuff that I have a really hard time with. It was this little kind of light beige Petra. If it seemed little to me, and I was like, at the age of 9, I was like the size of a 6-year-old. So if it seemed little to me, it must have been tiny. It was really a special kind of family instrument.
Do you remember what attracted you to it the first time you sort of put your fingers on the piano? And what was, can you think back to that?
I guess it was so early that it's hard to remember. I mean, because my parents were so musical, I feel like music has just been like with me since I was in utero. And I mean, I think all kids like pianos because you could instantly make a sound and it's just laid out and you could just reach it. As soon as you get up and start walking, you could just reach it. But I don't remember myself like that.
Do you think that pop music has lost something in the last few years where there are fewer and fewer people sort of known for being instrumentalists, for having mastered a particular instrument and being someone who represents that? I mean, you're obviously one, but you can count on a couple hands other people who are known for what they play and not just for singing songs.
I don't believe that music has lost that. I just believe that maybe the mainstream, the outlets are not letting those people in necessarily. Instruments there's such a way to express, and there's always people playing them and loving them and are great at them and tons better than I am at them. I think it has more to do with the values that society sort of holds up and what's valued right now, and maybe it's sort of fallen out of favor with the guards that allow the people to, experience those values. But I think real music is always there, and people who play it are always there, and there's a lot more of them than we would think if we just listen to kind of like the top slice of media.
Well, on that note, Regina, thanks a lot for coming to the WSJ Cafe.
Thanks so much.
Let's hear it for Regina Spektor.
That we will meet I was happy to have the opportunity to work with another human being in writing some music.